joining in today. And this is our third mug of this chapter, the Chandigarh Tri-City chapter, and the team behind it is Vinay, Ruchi, Amit Jain, and myself. And this one is about reporting and things around it. And I really want to thank you all to take out the time and attend this one. We will make sure to keep it valuable for you. So I am going to right away start with some kind of reports we have in Marketo. And when we talk about reports, the first one which usually comes to mind is the email performance report, correct? This is the most frequent useful report. I mean, this is the one which is most used, like, this is the one which you have seen the most probably. And for all the campaigns we are doing in Marketo, this is um, the report which we refer to. Be it like we want to look at how many people we sent an email to, how many were delivered, to look at the deliverability, and then on the other side we want to know like how many people opened our emails or how many people clicked in our emails, like the engagement set of data. So this is the kind of analysis we usually do with this kind of report. And it triggers conversations like, okay, if the open rate was less, maybe we want to address the subject line or maybe the data quality of the audience. And then if there was a decrease or maybe unexpected engagement in terms of the clicks in email, it could have been from difference in the relevance of content. Maybe the content was not that relevant. So all kind of interpretations. So the keyword here is really the interpretation. You guys, Marketo already has a lot of good documentation on what kind of reports we have. We will still cover some in this session. And the unique part, what we are trying to inspire is that uh, it's ultimately what you make of it, right? It's ultimately how you read them, and that's what we are going to do in this session today. This session is going to be about some ideas about how to use these reports to your advantage, how to transform these reports into some different versions which can apply to your use cases. um, as an example, in this case, you can see there is also an um, column which is called first activity, last activity. This is actually insight on what is the time when your audience started responding to your email once you sent an email. It's fairly also indicative of when the email was sent. Might not be 100% accurate, but purely indicative that usually when you're sending an email to someone, it's usually within the day that you get a response from at least one person. And that kind of data, you can then slice and dice, work with it to fetch a variety of insights. The first example in this case would be that, let us say I export this particular report and I am using this first activity data um, to assume that this particular date is the date when the email was sent. And then what I can do is I can create my own visuals. I can do it in Excel. I can do it in a variety of tools. ChatGPT is fun these days, so I am doing it in ChatGPT these days. Uh, Basically, what in this case I'm doing is I'm exporting that data, and then I'm prompting ChatGPT to create kind of a visual that give me a line plot which shows me how much activity I am doing month over month. Right. At first glance, it might looks like pretty basic, but you can actually have different qualitative conversations with various stakeholders that, okay, um, I did more activity in February versus January, and I sent less emails in March. Did we do something good in February? Should we double down on that? Should we be different in April? Should we repeat what we have done? Is it in line with what we thought to do? Right. So all that conversation changes just with one difference of perspective. This is the same report. It's the report, we just fetched it from the email performance, but it totally transforms into a different kind of conversation. Once you have that insight of, okay, this is what I'm looking at. So that is one idea, that um, how much marketing activity are we doing over time, right? That is one good indication you can fetch from, let's say, a global email performance report. And the other type is that once you have that, because we have that first activity date time, it can also help you create kind of a heat map to look at when are people responding. So it's not just that that particular column is giving you only the date, it's also giving you the time. And the another visual which makes perfect sense is having a heat map, something like this, where on the left side hours of day, and on the x-axis you have the days of week, right? There is some details about how many emails were sent on the right side, which is which is represented by the shade. But visually you can see it's like 6 a.m., 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 2 p.m., right? I mean, those are the timings when usually your people are responding. That's when the audience is responding. Obviously, this is a response to the email you have sent. But when you want to plan your next campaign, you probably don't want to send on Thursdays, right? You want to send on Mondays and Tuesdays for the data I have it from, right? I mean, I would like to send it on, let's say, 10 a.m. or when the people have been responding, because that is my best chance. That is my best chance to have that response, because that looks like, people are active there. So it totally transforms into a different kind of thing when you're looking at a transformative thing of email performance report. Um, so that's another one. And this is there are there are many more ways, but obviously we will not go into detail for the each one. We can surely contemplate that. I am sure that you will have your own unique ideas and will be working with a lot of unique cases. We have some more examples here. Um, not just the growth, or how many activity you are doing, but you can also try to group it by different types. The first chart in this example is about, okay, how many, what's my volume of marketing activity, and how does the emails about standard emails contribute to it, or how much my nurtures are contributing to it, or how many emails, the marketing emails of, let's say, my webinars are contributing to it. This is something I can fetch using the same. I mean, in this case, I used the categories from the naming itself. And just to make a point, in for the sake of this session, all the visuals you are looking at are from ChatGPT Plus, basically the code interpreter capability. Nonetheless, you can still do it in a lot of other tools. And in this case, I used the naming convention to filter and define those categories, because you do get the name of the email in the email performance reports, and even the program name is included in that. You can also see that you can see how different metrics differ over time. And uh, in this example, you can see my unsubscribe is fine. It's almost the same, but something happened in June. We probably did something better in June, right? I mean, it's worth investigating. So all this analysis points towards interpretations and qualitative follow-up, that okay, this is what we are seeing. Let's look forward to how we can improve these things. um, so before I move to next one, people performance report, I just want to check with Vinay. I mean, do you have any comment on the one which we just discussed?
Yeah, well said. Analyzing the email performance report is just like rating the pulse of our audience. This particular report tells us about what resonates, what sparks the interest, and what drives action. And analyzing all these stuff like the activities or the optimal send time and the other insights, we can fine tune our strategies and deliver even more impactful results.
Yeah, I think when I was working on these, I developed. Obviously, I mean we know about Marketo reporting since a while, but last year I started scratching the surface of reporting in a more deliberate manner, and I realized that there's a lot of capability in Marketo in reporting, and it's really a very deep area. And then it's like, the first inclination is to, I want to know all the functionalities, right? I want to know all the reports which are in place. I want to know, okay, what are the filters we can apply, what are the setup, what kind of time frames we can apply, what kind of smart lists we can apply, all that. As a practitioner, features are pretty fancy to me. I mean, yeah, I mean, I enjoy doing that, right? All the marketer practitioners do like the features, because with time it gets exciting, it's enjoyable, it's play, and it's also efficient. But then I realized that no, I mean, yes, filters is one thing, but what do we do about it, and how does it makes all this thing unique? And that's when I realized that, okay, if we look at analytics part of it's really not reporting, it's analytics. That's the reason we named it analytics in Marketo Engage. We could have named it reporting. So the whole point is that, we are analyzing all the data, and then we are making our interpretation. So we are sharing the examples. In this case, like, the examples are shared are my perspective. Yours could be very different, right? And that's the power of combining people and the process, I believe. But thanks, Vinay, for the comment. And I'll move to the next one, which is the people performance report. Um, this, in a sense, this is an actual performance report which I work on, and I will share a shorter version of it. The snapshot you see is a longer version of it. What we are trying to track in this case is how many people are in different stages, right? If someone filled out a form, did that person qualify? If that person qualified, that person got labeled, got assigned to sales, and things like that. I mean, did it close or not, whatever it was, right? So how to grasp that in a shortest way possible. This is a report I do like about it, that it's kind of a metrics, and you can slice and dice it by a lot of dimensions. And in this example, we are looking at three stages. We want to look at how many people filled out some forms, and we want to look at how many people qualified for sales follow up, and then we want to filter on people, that how many of people who qualified were actually assigned to sales. So those are the three stages. And what we can do here is, for all these three stages, you can actually create a smart list, right? We'll just get to that in a minute, the role of the smart list. So you create a smart list of how many people filled out the forms you want to track, how many people qualify for follow up, right? Filter out those people, add those filters, and create another smart list B for that, and create a smart list C for all those people who are assigned, right? These smart lists can actually be added as columns in this report, right? I like to call these columns as smart columns. This is not something which is a system definition by Marketo, just to let you know. But it helps me remember things correctly, that okay, when I am adding these columns in here, what I'm really doing is, these are counts of people which are calculated from the smart lists which we just created, right? So what it does is that you have different columns, and your columns will represent counts from the criterias you defined in those smart lists. It looks a bit complicated, but I bet, once you get on hands on it, it's really straightforward. And then the another part is, as I said, you can group by a lot of things. In this case, we are grouping this by SFDC type. I want to know how many people are leads, how many people are contacts on the SFDC side, how many people just did not sync. And according to that, let's say we have this kind of basic data, right? I mean, this is dummy data, this is not actual data. So you get this kind of report. So there are two ways you can look at this report in Marketo, right? And try to understand and make your interpret. I tend to export it and try to contemplate on Excel. It's just like, it's my work style. But yours could be different. It's fine. The point is that you're making the interpretation using the data which you have just generated about the report. And the value in this case is that you get to know how are people progressing in your reports, right? So again, to get take it to, let's say, to simplify it, we can even have a visualization in this case. So once we have this, I mean, this is where the ultimate value comes in, that now you can look at this visual or data, and now you can talk to different stakeholders. You can take this to different marketing managers and say, okay, when this is how people are flowing, um, is it fine? Why are some people who are assigned more than people who are qualified? Were they already assigned, right? So when you look at the actual data from the reports, there are various gaps and skewness which you can work on, and it can uncover very interesting insights which help you to discover a lot of improvement areas, and it helps you further refine your marketing. So that's the another one from people performance report. I hope, like, you could also do the journal life cycle model, like the MQLs, SQLs. I mean, that can happen using this report as well. But again, it would be a snapshot in time. It can get complex based on what kind of scenarios you are taking in. And I'll share another example, is where, so I just talked about how people progress in funnel. The another way is you want to know uh, how is my database structured. Let's say you want to know the proportion of different sources in your database. So instead of creating the smart lists for different stages, what I can do is I can create smart lists for different sources. Interestingly, Marketo provides you certain system defined sources. For example, registration source type, which will be the list of values you can see on screen, list import, Salesforce, web form fill out, and all these. All you have to do is you have to add in that the registration source type in this particular case is list import, salesforce.com, and it will give you all the smart lists and their counts. Now you add those smart lists to the custom smart list columns, which I was calling as custom columns. And then you can have a report like this, where you have this, like, these are the list imports, Salesforce, web form fill, and then you can group by years, group by SFDC type, group by a variety of sources. There's a ton of attributes in Marketo you can group by. And if you can export it, you can even, have some kind of videos like this. You can know a percent of databases from web service APIs. Maybe I want to be careful about my integrations. There's a lot of people who are from Salesforce, so I need to be aligned with sales. There has to be perfect sync. That kind of data guides you where to focus your energies on. And these kind of reports, although on face values, they're just reports. I mean, it looks like it's a good feature in Marketo. It generates a good table. But the point I'm making is it's what we do with it. I'll pause for a minute here, Vinay. I mean, do you have a comment on this one?
Yeah, Bulkar. So when we talk about the people performance report, it is just like report card of your marketing efforts. Like what is your overall score, and then what subjects you score most, and what are the low scoring areas. So knowing the data about your database, like how many leads you have generated in that particular reporting period, and what are the sources where they came from, like whether it is a website or your referral or a social media, and what are the areas where what insights they are providing, like how are they interacting with our marketing efforts. Did they engage with our emails, or are they visiting our website or downloading content. All this data help us to identify the areas whether they are working well, what are the areas working well and what are not, and then we can plan our next marketing efforts accordingly, and we can use that stats to improve the low scoring areas as well.
Thanks, Vinay, for that input. Again, I think this is a very powerful report. I don't know if I keep saying this, but the really the beauty of this particular report is that it can be grouped by many things, and you can actually define those columns. What do you want to report on, and it's up to your imagination on how you can make it work. So yeah, I mean the examples you gave was pretty relevant to this one. Thanks, Vinay. Let us move to the next one. Which is a bit different report. And before I move to next one, there are two more examples. Um, in people performance report itself, we just saw the funnel conversions. You could also see how your database is growing over time. Actually, that is how it is described. If you do go at like docs.marketo, I mean, if you look at the documentation of Marketo, that is the basic description of the report. That this report essentially is about looking at the growth of database, and the histories that we call it people performance report. It used to be lead performance report, but overall it was like the performance or how is your database growing, but we can get a lot creative with it. And once you have all those sources, you can stack it by different sources and look at different uh, sources across the growth, and contemplate and refine. um, So I have another one, company web activity report, but when I will make a confession, I have used this report very rarely. Have you used this report a lot?
Well, Bakar, not but much, but yeah, I have used it for a few of my clients. And as you mentioned, it is actually a silent hero of which works well for a sales team. You know, this report actually help you to peek behind the curtain, like which companies stop by your website, what are the pages they are visiting, and how long they stayed on that particular page, and how are they interacting with the content. This particular report not only provide us the website visitors, but you can say it provide us list of warm leads,
Yeah,
right?
I think there are it actually also, as with many reports, it also demands some care. But when I was going through these reports, the thing that stood out is that you have a list of companies which this report provides you, and it gives you like how many people are visiting your pages, and how many web page views are happening. So it's clearly a list of accounts which are interested in you. You might want to investigate and exclude some bad accounts. Like, I could be an agency, I could be someone who is working to optimize your website, and it would have been, visiting some pages a number of times. Uh, but that is exclusion, right? I mean, do those kind of exclusions, and then get to mm, what does matters. I can also that this can also give you this have another features like in the page views and people, the number of people. You can also see that we can add information like country, city, state. Similar to the email performance, we do have the first visit timing in this case as well, so you can see like how you can expand on um, what Marketo is providing you. We also have inferred company or ISP, but uh, I think that is not very reliable to lean on. It's better if you have the actual company to have those kind of analysis. And ultimately, let us say you have this data. You could consider some accounts for your ABM efforts. It might sound like wishful thinking, but um, I think this company web activity report does offers you a lot of accounts which are worth discussion. Would you agree, Vinay?
Yeah, Balkar, I echo your thought completely. We can use this particular report to identify the target accounts, and then we can plan our marketing efforts accordingly.
Um, cool. So obviously we cannot cover all the reports. Marketo has a lot. So we will be seeking response from all of you for ideas for part two, because we'll work in accordance to whatever is relevant. But we are not concluding it yet. I will share some fun features of some reports. So let's move with one. Um, you can actually subscribe yourself to reports. So almost all the reports and even smartly many things in Marketo, you can actually subscribe yourself. So what you can do is, let's say you have an email performance report, company web activity report, people performance report, landing page performance report, a lot of reports, right? You can add your email address as a recipient, define a frequency. You can receive that email on that frequency. You can have that as a link in your email, but not everyone is familiar or proficient in Marketo, but that does not restricts you to look at the data. You can actually attach Excel reports. Let's say, you want to look at how our what were the emails sent last week, how did we perform, and do you don't want to log in, right? You can subscribe yourself to this report, and maybe some stakeholders on your team want to be subscribed. So it's pretty cool feature that sends you these emails on a set frequency. The another one is that many reports in Marketo do have a smart list, except some. Um, I know this does not sounds like a fun feature, but the reason we have added this in this presentation is that because it holds a lot of relevance and power, at least how we see it. Let us say you are using an email performance report. If you define two segmentation in this smart list, you're looking at two different reports and you can compare those two very differently. Like you might all the visuals we just saw, all the discussion we just had, we can do it specific to one set, and then we can do it specific to another set and compare, right? uh, that can happen when you fetch a set specific report by defining those segmentations in the smart list. You could have, maybe you want to see email performance by the c suite. You want to see the email performance by, let's say, your target accounts. Those could be different. I mean, they demand different kind of attention, right? So that is interesting. I'll jump to the next one. So you don't need to use GPT or Excel in many of the reports. If you think that Marketo does not provides you visuals, you are wrong. Marketo does provides visuals on a lot of reports. It's just that they're not very clearly visible. They are not everywhere, but they are at many moments. And in this case, the example of people performance, you can actually change the style to different styles in here. I mean, there are some areas I would definitely recommend you to try it, that you can change the style of these visuals in many reports. For example, you could create a bar, a column, an area, a line, a pie, based on whatever you want to see. For example, in people performance, we were just looking at um, an example where we want to look at proportion of sources. So pie would be a good source there, right? And there's a lot of places where you will find visuals, although it's not everywhere. So that's also uh, an interesting feature in this one. With that, I think I'll conclude at least the content part of this user group. Do let us know what else we should be including. I know time just went very fast. But Vinay, any thoughts you have on this one or the content? Any comments you want to make?
Um, Not exactly, but yeah, we would encourage you to leverage the mug reporting feature as much as you can, because this will help you to gather some great insights, and that will help you to boost your marketing efforts and obviously increase the revenue part as well.
Cool. And as we close this one, I think we could take a couple of questions, right? I mean, Let me. Uh,
Yeah, we do have some.
uh, so we have couple of time. We can surely um, look at the chat. Let me stop sharing my screen. Um, the heat map is at campaign level. It's at the email level, John. Basically, the timing is against the email. If you are calling that email as a campaign, I think, yeah, in general marketing we would call it as a campaign. What does mean by first activity and last? Basically, the first activity is really when is the first response. So let's say you sent an email to 2,000 people, and the first person who respond to it is like after a couple of days, maybe open, or couple of hours. So the timing when that person is responding is the first activity. How can add smartlets columns in report? You can do it by visiting the setup in the reporting. So all the reporting parts have an option called setup, and when you go in that setup, you can actually drag a, what I can say, option of smart list. So yeah, that's how we can do it. I mean, do let us know, and if there is anything else we can answer, please feel free to throw in the questions, and any kind of feedback we would love to know, and any kind of things we should be including for the next one, because we will be planning and preparing for the next one. Okay, I think that was good. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Ishan. Cool. Thank you everyone for the attendance, and for all the encouragement and so much interaction. Thanks for keeping it interactive. Um, Great. Um, this was an amazing audience. Thank you so much. See you soon.
We have one comment from Mahak.
Okay.
Can we explore on the RCE reports for the next session? Yeah, yeah, Mahak. We'll try to cover that in our next session.
Cool. Perfect. Great.
Okay, cool.
Uh,
Thank you,
Great.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot. See you soon. Bye bye.